Hello, everyone. Brother Al McLean with this week's stewardship video. And before we go too far, as always, the disclaimer: no advice should be seen as a recommendation or endorsement, as I am not a licensed financial advisor, and this is for educational purposes only. If you do employ or have a registered advisor or certified financial planner or someone in that capacity, that's what they're there for. You want to make sure you ask them their recommendations because, as you said, that's what you're paying for. So tonight's video, and it's basically this evening's video, and it's later than I usually make it because I just got back a couple hours ago from our conference, our men's conference at St. John's Baptist Church in South Lake, Texas, where we annually have a men's conference around March Madness, and that's what we usually call it, March Madness. Then we'll have a subtitle topic title to it, and this was the awakening. And we specifically was focused on passing the baton, and we're looking at having intergenerational conversations and discussions about men and men topics and walking the Christian faith walk as a man. And what I found interesting, and as my pastor, Denita White Davis, uses the word providential, because we don't believe in luck or happenstance when it comes to the Lord. It's providential. It's meant to be. It's something that he put into effect, either allowed or caused um, in this part of time. And that morning, because it's a 2-day conference, the morning I have YouVersion, which gives me a verse of the day. And the verse of the day for that morning, the first day of the conference, which would start that evening, was Proverbs 27, verse 17. And it says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens and influences another through discussion. That's the Amplified. So let me read that again. And let that sink in. Again, here's the backdrop. This is the first day of the conference, right? We start the men's conference that evening, and the YouVersion verse for the day was Proverbs 27, verse 17, and the Amplified, and that's the version I usually have come up for me, says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens and influences another through discussion. I was so moved by that. I mean, that was like God dropping a nugget to say, "Hey, man, keep going. You know, I'm there with you. I'm pulling for you. I'm on your side." I sent it to two of the leaders, and you could see that's a screenshot of my text to them saying, "Hey, YouVersion verse of the day. Look at providence of God on first day of a men's conference." And you can see a picture there to the right, and at the in the background up against the wall, that's that intergenerational panel discussion that kicked us off that evening. And we've got moderators to discuss, and you can see us sitting out, and we had a great attendance and great discussion that kicked it off that night. And then later on, we fellowshipped as men. And so here's the points that we were pulling out of this 2-day conference. And here's the second day. Right. This was actually today. Well, we were in sanctuary closing out with our we had breakout sessions, and two pastors brought two powerful words today, Pastor Felder and Pastor Walker. And some of the things that we highlighted during this whole time, and passing the baton, meaning we need to be pouring into someone and having someone pour into us. And so what that means is we walk life together, we journey together, we go through situations together, we seek each other's advice, we seek consultation from each other, we hold each other accountable, not only in life. And of course, as this is the stewardship video, we're talking about stewarding relationships. We're talking about stewarding our influence. We even talked about how do we steward our hurts. And that was a powerful message from Pastor Walker, saying that our wounds have worth. So what does that mean from a specific stewardship standpoint? Well, what it means is that you can find a money mentor. yeah, heck, I'll be happy to do it. If you can't find anyone, email me and we can set up time to talk to each other. Or if you're in the Dallas area, we'll sit down and have a cup of coffee. And at the same time, I have someone that I reach out to, especially in the Christian Stewardship Network, several people that I reach out to that I seek advice, hold me accountable, can learn from. So I'm being poured into, and then I'm pouring out to someone. And how does this help you? Well, first of all, if you're pouring out to someone, that means you got to learn the topic and subject yourself. For instance, you have to learn the ins and outs of how to set up a budget, or maybe do a debt snowball, or how to invest, how to open a brokerage account, right? Or if you don't know, you can find someone who's ahead of you and they know how to do it. And then once you learn, right, you internalize it by teaching someone else. So that's passing the baton, right? That's pouring into others. That's iron sharpening iron, right? As I do these videos, I have to research and learn. So I'm pouring out, but at the same time, I have different mentors that pour into me, and oftentimes I'll transfer that knowledge on these videos. So that's what the conference was about. And I internalized it and said, hey, not only in life, but of course, specifically in our finances, right? Where iron sharpens iron. So you can reach out, find a money community, an online community. It will also, and if you don't have one, you start it, right? And you all are just, you don't have to be the expert and have all the answers. That's the whole purpose of the community and iron sharpening iron, right? You're just going alongside with each other, learning together, holding each other accountable together, encouraging each other together, being transparent to say, hey, listen, I made that same mistake. You can learn from my mistakes, and it can speed up your success, right? And one of the things we also talked about is don't be intimidated when someone you're mentoring has greater success. In fact, you want them to do that. You want them to be better, right? And when you're intimidated by that, that's just the devil, this evil Satan coming in with his old tricks of pride, right? Pride and fear, pride and fear. So with that, learned a lot out of this conference, applied it from a stewardship standpoint as well as a whole life standpoint. So as we always do, let's change gears. Let's look at this week's earnings report. And we can see at the same time we're starting to roll over in our earnings season, but we'll be gearing up in a couple of weeks for some big earnings, starting, of course, with the financials in about 2 weeks. But this week, we've got some pretty heavy hitters that are reporting. We've got KB Homes. So there was a couple of housing stock reports that came out that show that the housing market was actually not as bad as others thought, even though the home prices are still up there and interest rates have not come down, but we saw some good reports. So it'll be interesting to see what KB Homes is talking about when it comes to their earnings, and even more important, people are going to be listening to the forecast. GameStop, remember that meme stock from COVID? It'll be interesting to see what people are doing with that stock. Dollar Tree will give us some insight into consumer spending, because people, as they're watching their dollars with inflation, one of the places that the middle class and upper middle class are starting to shop at is Dollar Tree to save money. Chewy, we've given several times several recommendations, not recommendations, but things to think about when it comes to pet and the whole industry of pet. Like our lovely Terrier Deuce, his insurance just went up, but it's still probably the most reasonable insurance out there. And guess what? You're going to pay it, right? So, I mean, everybody loves their pets, and we're going to shop around, but in the end, he's going to have, insurance on him when it comes to his health. Lululemon, that was a darling stock a couple of quarters ago. Be interesting to see how that is, because that could fit into people's budgets when they're talking about, saving. So that's this week's earnings. And we'll be gearing up and waiting in a couple of weeks. And I don't know if it's week after or 2 weeks from now, but we'll be getting into those financials that are lead us into another earnings season. This one's kind of coming to the end for this. So one of the things that I've been hearing is a lot of talk about the weakening of the dollar. And in fact, there's been not a political statement, but there's been some discussion about this administration wants a weak dollar because it could help manufacturing, right? So that they want to keep the dollar weak. And the other thing is when it comes to real estate, that's a good hedge or a good way to invest when a weaker dollar. And we know administration, president has a background in commercial real estate, right? So here is a graph or a chart I found that graphs out the dollar strip. And this is dollar compared to other currencies. And you can see that it had topped out back in December. Now we're definitely seeing a weakening of the dollar. And it's interesting how when this administration took over, you can see definitely been having a weakening of the dollar. Now it turned up a little bit in March, but you can see that overall it's been going year to date in a downtrend. So what can we do with the weakening of the dollar? Now, of course, weakening the dollar means that you're not able to buy as much. So where are some things that we can invest in? And called on Copilot, the AI tool that's on Microsoft. I just said, hey, where can we invest in a weakening dollar? And it brought up commodities, and commodities such as oil, right? Gold. We've been hearing a lot about gold prices going up. And gold has been increasing. And if you're going to do oil, you could do the ETF USO or OIL, oil. If you're going to do gold, if you're not purchasing like physical gold, and I'm not a gold bug, I'm not an expert in that area or purchase any other physical gold, but you can also invest in the ETF GLD, gold, right? Again, not a recommendation, just something to think about. Then you could do foreign investments in which you're looking at companies that have a lot of exposure to other countries, right? Multinational corporations. So, take a picture of this slide, pause it, read over it, do your research. And then there's also real estate. And if one of the best things is actually physical real estate. And our director or our men's leader, Thurman Sneed, is an expert in that area. He has been in the real estate portfolio, actually physical assets for years. But for those of us who are more stock market side of it, you can do REITs, real estate investment trusts. That's a convenient way to invest in real estate and not own the property. So that's one way. And once again, use Copilot, and they came up with these REITs as possible investment opportunities. Do your own research. Again, this is not recommendations. This is strictly designed to spark your interest and you to do your research. And this is for education only. So take a look at these, read them over. These are the symbols. You can go out and use stock analysis or whatever your favorite investment tool is to do research. And if you don't have one, it's one place you can start finding your tool. All right. And we've been taking a look at price performance last 2 weeks. These are different areas. It's holding steady. 3 areas in the last 2 weeks are in the green. That's energy. We just talked about that. The financials, and utilities. Year to date, here are the ones that are in the green. The best performing is energy. Just talked about the OIL or USO, the ETF that you might want to look at. Healthcare, it's defensive. It's the second best performing. And then in the area of utilities, one of the things, technology, one of the things you could do is say, okay, it's down. Hey, it's on sale. Maybe I want to consider a play at this time because it's been overpriced. And one of the areas, and I showed this slide last week, quantum computing may be something you want to look at. And QBTS was holding, again, this is not a recommendation. I did tell my cousin about it as well. Not a recommendation. Do your own research. It's because I have it. I mean, you should invest in it. But That's a play that you could do in quantum computing, and right now it's kind of low price, and it has been going up. And here's some other ones that you could do your research on. And so with that, as we always do, let's close out. Take a look at QQQ. It's still in a downtrend. Had some slight consolidation, meaning it's bouncing back and forth. Remember, QQQ is the ETF, exchange traded fund, that primarily is in the technology sector. The other one that we always look at is SPY as a review, as the exchange traded fund, Fortune 500 companies. It's also downtrend, consolidating just like QQQ, but not as much as the downtrend as QQQ, but still in a downtrend. That's it for this week's stewardship video. As always, here are the different ways you can like and subscribe to the YouTube video. You can get an alert as soon as I do the video. You'll get an alert that it's out, or you can get on a distribution list. These are different ways. And as we always end, remember, Jesus is Lord. Therefore, he's the owner, which means he tells us what to do with his resources that he's provided for us and sustains for us. But we, in that role, are the faithful stewards, which means we follow the owner's instruction. So we'll see you next week with the stewardship video. Bye.